Your new work for strings, called Reaction, was commissioned by the Chamber Orchestra K65. Would you please tell us a few words about it?
Before I can answer that question, let me explain briefly how I found access to classical music. When I was 8, I discovered a vinyl record in my father's hi-fi cabinet. It was Johann Sebastian Bach's Violin Concerto in A minor. The very beginning of the concerto was like a call to me to dedicate my life to music. The warm and homogeneous sound of the string instruments immediately intrigued me, and that's when I decided to become a violinist. Later I became an opera singer and more recently a composer as well.
Does your early exposure to Bach's Violin Concerto have a significance in your new work?
Yes, I realized immediately that I wanted to use the interval of the fourth, just like the one at the beginning of Bach's Violin Concerto, as a compositional cornerstone for the piece.
Can you say something about the title of the piece? You put the re in parentheses. Why?
Actually, I came up with the title even before I wrote down a single note. The title opens up a great deal of interpretational and conceptual possibilities, and with the re in parentheses graphically indicates a binary form.
What do you mean exactly by binary?
Well, there are two opposing musical moods juxtaposed in a way that complement each other, and two movements in which one of the two moods dominates.
How could you describe these two movements?
The first movement is rather quiet but punctuated by a variety of different short interactions. The second movement is much more active with hard, partly garish textures, and there is also a dark colored sequence in a slow tempo which forms a small enclave in this action-rich second movement.
Your description reminds me a little of the Chinese yin-yang. Is there something in that?
I'm not an expert in Chinese philosophy, yet I find the idea of depicting one in the other very exciting, and I have tried to integrate this idea to my piece. The title already indicates this contrast because it contains the verbal equivalent of the complementary interval of the fourth, which is the fifth. To support this idea more profoundly, I mainly use the fourth in the first movement and the fifth in the second movement as core elements.
Is there any of Bach's music in your piece?
No, I don't think so, except for a one Bach quote from the Violin Concerto. But in a broader context, the piece Reaction is my own late reaction to my first exposure to Bach's music and my intuitive exploration of musical core material. Only a few motivic actions and reactions dominate the musical events in my piece. Many conceivable actions do not happen, remain undone in the multitude of possibilities.
Thank you for your explanations.